Hello, Renee Flamont here. As I stated in the last video about triangulation, which I strongly recommend you watch as well as this one because they are both tools in the toolbox that they will use to devalue you. So it's vital, I have some new people, that you understand how, just as I think triangulation is particularly sadistic, I think gaslighting is beyond cruel. It's about making you question your own reality. It's playing mind games with you. It comes from the 1940s movie with Ingrid Bergman, where her husband makes her think that she's nuts because he's trying to steal from her or something. Yeah, I haven't seen it, but that's what I read. So it comes from that movie, Gaslight. He makes her think she's nuts. Now, listen to this. This is just Wikipedia, and I'm going to read this to you because I find this to be fascinating. The term also is used to describe a person, a gaslighter, who presents, tell me this isn't the narcissist. Tell me this isn't the narcissist. Who presents a false narrative, their mask is on, 5% guy, to another group or person, us, which leads them to doubt our own perceptions and become misled, disoriented, or distressed. That's exactly what happens to us. Generally for the gaslighter's own benefit. This dynamic is only possible when the audience is vulnerable. That's us. We talk about how, in order for them to have even gotten in, there was a hole in self-love or self-esteem. Such as in unequal power relationships, which of course they're in control when you're in a relationship with one of them, or when the audience is fearful of the losses associated with challenging the false narrative. That's why we don't say anything. We ignore red flags. We don't go, wait, you said something tonight that I'm just confused. Can you please? We would never. We stomp over red flags. We see things we don't like. We don't say anything. We don't want to challenge the false narrative because the fear of the loss of them leaving us. We weren't ready for that. So we ignore it. It'll go away. That won't happen again. That was a one-time thing. That can't be him. I don't know. I must have not seen that right. It's like we gaslight ourselves almost. So what they do is, you see things, you go to them, you know it happened. You know it happened. Let's just say that. You do, he knows it, you know it. The facts are that is the truth. You go to him, you have all these different things. Not even circumstantial. You have hard evidence. What is this text on your phone? What is this? Who's at the door? Like, you know what I mean? Hard evidence. And he says, wasn't me. That comes from the 1980s. Eddie Murphy had 2 comedy specials. We're big Eddie Murphy fans in this family. And he had Raw and he had Delirious, purple leather, red leather. I don't remember which one it is. But he talked about how, guys, no matter what the girl says, just keep saying it wasn't me, it wasn't me, it wasn't me. And he's so funny because it's Eddie Murphy. Wasn't me. It makes for a very funny comedy routine. He came on the scene. Nobody's ever seen anything like him. It was hilarious. Well, he's not thinking of anything. It's comedy. But on the other end of that, in true life, of somebody saying it wasn't me, is a girl now, or guy, thinking they're nuts. Because it doesn't just stop at it wasn't me when it's a narcissist who's gaslighting you. They're going to call you names. They're going to say you're crazy for thinking that. How dare you think that? You don't trust me after all this time? How could you think that? You're psychotic. That's where mine landed. That's the thing that he kept. Went through all those incarnations or anything therein that I said, it landed on you're psychotic. Now here's the kicker. You end up acting psychotic, like a lunatic and insane, after they call you insane, when you know that you're right and that the evidence shows this, and that for them to insinuate that you're even crazy to ask these questions when you know what's true makes you nuts and you can't let it go because you want, right? It's frustrating. And I had some satisfaction in never letting him think that I wasn't right. I knew the whole time, and that's why I wouldn't let things go, and that's why he finally broke. And I would fill in details of the way I thought it went down. Let me guess how you got in the car together. Let me guess how you ended up at the same place together. Let me guess how that phone call went. And I would not stop talking, and don't ask me why I didn't just walk away. And finally he'd say, you're right, oh my God, about everything. Like I was pretty much spot on. I would not let him think he was making me feel insane. I knew the truth. I knew what it was. Again, why I kept at it, all of the reasons and more that we've been covering in nearly 400 videos, right? Now, in the future, if somebody were to say to me something like that, and I found things, I would like to think that I just handled it very calmly and said, this is black and white. I can't refuse that this is the truth. This doesn't sit well with what I wanted. This is past my boundaries. Goodbye. I knew a woman. Her husband, this was away on vacation. She found out he was cheating on her. When he came home, she never spoke to him again. When he came home, his stuff was in the garage packed, and she wanted a divorce. I said, you never talked to him again? How could you do that? She goes, I didn't care what he had to say. The truth was enough for her. The truth was enough for her. She didn't need to listen to what he had to say about that truth. So what we do is we present these facts to the narcissist, and then we want them to come back with something, don't we? We really are praying that there's an excuse or a reason, or they're going to say something to help me snap out of this and get over this and be able to deal with this and to be able to be at peace with this. That's why we keep making them try to admit it. Why else would I care? But I wanted him to admit it because I wanted him to know that I wasn't being played a fool. But shame on me because I made myself insane with every time he called me insane. So now my behavior is like a lunatic, so I'm behaving like what he's calling me. And then the kicker is they look at you and go, see? They make you insane by telling you you're insane. And you're trying to prove to them and say to them, and you're thinking they're somehow going to say, all right, you're right. They don't. It took weeks of relentless badgering on my part. And I just had a way of breaking it down that I have a way about me. So he finally broke. But in the meantime, he was trying to make me feel like I was crazy for even having those thoughts. He was trying to make me feel like I was a rotten person for not trusting him. They'll go through that. I can't believe after everything we've been through, you don't trust me? How can you not trust me? How could you look me in the face and not trust me? Look at my eyes. Does it look like I'm lying? They'll lie right to your face. But they'll play that. Look in my eyes, honey. I swear on our kids. I swear. This guy swore on everything. My guy. I pray for the people he knows. I really do. I pray. He swore on everything, making me think I was nuts. And I said, no, I know I'm not nuts. And you know, when you go through that and you go through that again and again and again, it brought upon me a lot of anger. A lot of anger. And I'm going to read this to you. This is how serious it used to get with the playing with people's minds. It's now, people use that term more often now, and it's come to be defined as questioning your own reality. But back in the old days, it used to mean, once referred to, manipulation so extreme as to induce mental illness or to justify commitment of the gaslighted person to a psychiatric institution. Can you imagine? So here's two people 70 years ago having the same fight that you today have with your narcissist. And he successfully, with no internet and one car, or not even a car in the household, maybe one car, depending on what decade we're talking about. But for the most part, the lady, the man, they live together. There's no internet. They have a landline in their house. Not a lot of access to quick information. If she took the car to go to the library to look stuff up or spy on him, how's she gonna? They're not a two-car family. Like, think things through. So she has truth in front of her that she amassed somehow, because there's always a footprint. I don't care what decade, there's always a footprint. And then he's telling her she's nuts. She's telling her she's nuts. She's isolated, alone. There's no online community. There's no anything that she can go to get answers. She can't get on the phone because it's a landline, if they even have a phone. She's isolated dealing with this. I can see how that would lead to a mental institution. My wife is out of control. Can you come get her? Because they're flipping out in the same lunatic way that many of us have behaved. Because I do have a temper, and I would scream loud. Some of you don't. I know some people that never get like that. I have a girlfriend who never raises her voice. It doesn't matter. Even if she's mad, she sounds like she's saying, hello, how are you? It's hilarious. I laugh. She's hilarious. But I get mad, and you can see it. It's very visible. My ex-husband told me I was animated. Animated. He was smirking one day. We're very good friends. He's a stellar guy. But he was smirking one day when I was being berserk. How could you laugh? I said, do you actually think that's going to help me right now? This was in my 20s. I had a temper. And he goes, did you ever look at yourself when you were mad? I'm like, no, what do you mean? And he goes, you're funny. And we laughed. And the fight was over. He brought me right back down. But so I get animated. I'm very, very, very tempestuous. And if somebody's calling me crazy and I know I'm not, it got ugly. But he loved it. They were after that. They're getting attention. They're getting supply. I'm showing a jealousy. I'm making him feel wanted and loved. I'm putting in all this effort to prove to him that I'm not crazy. He knows I'm not. He, of course, knows the truth. It's his truth. Yet I thought I felt the need for weeks to be like, you have to just... I should have just, shoulda, coulda, woulda. And again, I'm glad not, because then I wouldn't have learned my lesson. But if that happened today again, I would say, I don't appreciate that kind of character. I know what I know. The truth is enough for me. The truth is enough for me. So your husband's out of town and he cheats on you with a girl, and you find out while he's out of town, and he comes home and your bags are in the garage and you never talk to him again. Guess what? The truth was enough for you. You didn't need to talk to him. You didn't even allow for the opportunity for him to say, you're crazy. No, sir. You're psychotic. Deny, deny, deny. You get frustrated, deny, deny, deny. Nope. Cut it off at the knees. I hope if this ever happens to me again, I recognize it and I do that. Because it's absolutely cruel to mess with somebody's mind. I mean, to think that mind control is what they use at war, right? To torture people. No food, no air, no water, hot temperature, cold temperature, mind games. I mean, darkness, solidarity. I can't even imagine inflicting that upon somebody that I'm supposedly in a relationship with, telling them that I love you. And that's what comes out of the other side of their mouth. They're making you think that you're nuts, but then they're telling you, but I love you. I would never do that to you. So they're lying. That's the lie, which is fueling the gaslighting, which is happening because they triangulated you. Maybe you just got home from a party and you know what you saw, and you know what you caught him doing, and you know what you found on his phone already on the drive home, and you're having a fight. And he's gaslighting you, telling you you're crazy. You're looking at it wrong. You misread the signals. Oh, I didn't really mean that, or that's not what I... You need to be aware that this is a tool that they use. Because I'm telling you right now, if you have the kind of character that you know something is true, and your partner just keeps going, wasn't me, wasn't me, wasn't me. It's funny when Eddie Murphy does it. It really is. You should look it up. But in true life, they're denying something that's true, and then they're making you question your own reality. You start to question, well, did I read that? Or maybe I'm overreacting. Maybe he wasn't doing anything. Maybe I'm being too sensitive. They'll tell you that a lot of times. You're being too sensitive. Loosen up. You have to be all uptight all the time. Whatever they say to you. They can come out with a bunch of things to make you doubt and question why you're confronting them with what you know to be true. Now, I'm not telling you to stand your ground and be confrontational. I would never, ever, ever encourage anyone to fight or stay in there and try to prove your point. I'm trying to prove a point to him that he already knows is true. I'm telling you it was here. He's going, no, it wasn't. Inside, he's going, she's right. I could have just dropped it. And to save yourself the trouble going forward, I would say if it's hard evidence and you know it, don't knock yourself out. You want to tell them once that you know the truth and you don't feel you're in danger. And please, if there's violence, I'm not encouraging you, physical or not, mental cruelty, arguing with, I'm not encouraging any of that confrontation. But if you know you want to confront them and here it is and you know what's true, do not let them. You stay in your mindset that you know what's right. And don't let them make you doubt what you know to be true. Because, I'm a strong person, and it didn't ill affect me in that way. It ill affected me that I hung in there to try to prove to him a truth he already knew. But what if I were a person who was weak? What if you have a person who's having a hard time at work with their immediate family, they have money problems, they're at wit's end already, and the partner is telling them, you're insane, you're psychotic. And now that might be all it took to maybe have somebody go into an institution. I mean, that could make somebody break. There's breaking points that humans get to. And life is ebbs and flows. And sometimes sometimes we're having great times and sometimes things aren't going well. I can't imagine being somebody who's in one of those vulnerable states, weak like that, in other areas of my life. They're not quite going at, and then this hits me. I had nothing to do but concentrate on this. I'm all right. I'm fine. But this could break somebody. It's very cruel. Be on the lookout for it. Know when it's happening. Recognize it as such. They might not know the word. All they know is I'm going to make her think she's nuts because there's no way I'll ever admit what she's challenging me with. You're challenging the false narrative. So you have to, if you do that, be willing to accept the loss of them. They could then take off and say, it's not worth it for me. I don't feel like arguing with you. Generally, they continue the argument because they get a charge out of that. They like to see you scramble around, make your case, claw your way back up, try to offer them anything. You might not be ready to let them go to this other person with whom there was a transgression. So now you're going to fight for them. They like to see that. You're going to fight for them, even though they're telling you you're nuts for thinking what you think. But some girls, they want to hang in there. Or some people don't say anything, and they quietly have the information, and maybe they plot and plan for divorce and then leave without ever saying anything. People handle things differently. And I'm just here to tell you, don't make yourself nuts over it because it's cruel and it is not you. You are not insane. So don't act insane to prove you're not insane, because I did that. I ended up acting insane to prove I wasn't insane when he would call me insane because I didn't like being called that. So I guess my solution was to act it. I look back, it's kind of wasn't really a good plan, was it? I gave him evidence for that. I did. And I behaved like that with other relationships. I told you, my temper manifested itself in my relationships. And I used to say that everybody I ever dated would say that I was psychotic, but that's because I think I've dated narcissist after narcissist after narcissist, and they have made me feel psychotic. Not my husband, he's healthy, but I'm saying, and he wouldn't call me psychotic, he would just laugh and say I was like animated when I was mad. He wouldn't, pardon me, there was nothing dishonest happening there, so that doesn't apply. But with a narcissist, yeah. So I would act insane when he would call me insane. It made no sense. Watch for this. I don't want you getting caught up in that. Stand by your ground if you do decide to say something. And that doesn't mean hang in there and fight, but it does mean that you don't have to accept the excuse that they give you. Do you know what I'm saying? You can politely just stop the conversation and go into the other room. It doesn't have to be a big dramatic thing. You can know what you know in your mind and heart, say it one time, leave the room, and deal with it. Don't make yourself get so invested in proving to them that you're not insane. They know the truth already. They're just mad that you found it out.